Hello Moto GP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Márquez delivered a statement performance at Balaton Park, taking pole and winning the sprint after a precise, energy-managed attack. The result underlined his raw speed returning after surgery while he continues to manage recovery and race workload. Márquez framed the weekend as a measured success, a tactical sprint win, cautious optimism for Sunday, and enjoyment of racing without overreaching. Marc Márquez celebrated a strong Saturday at Balaton Park while stressing the comeback remains a work in progress. Pole and the sprint win showed his speed, but Márquez says the real gain is regained sensation on the left side of the bike, a subtle but decisive improvement, while muscular endurance and right side strength still need rebuilding. He remains cautious about immediate ambitions and focused on measured progress. Bagnaia left Balaton Park with mixed emotions, encouraged by Ducati's incremental setup gains yet frustrated by a sprint that highlighted persistent weaknesses in rear grip and overtaking. A promising qualifying effort, P5, collapsed into 9th place after a chaotic first corner, underscoring how fragile progress can be on compact circuits where starts and exits dictate the rhythm of the race. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Márquez's plan was simple and surgical. Get to the front at the first corner, push hard for 3 fast laps to build a gap, then settle into a controlled pace to conserve tires and energy for the Grand Prix. The tactic worked perfectly. He opened a comfortable margin, then managed pace and resources to secure victory. The strategy was to start strong and then manage. Short, intense bursts followed by conservation are ideal for a rider rebuilding endurance. The sprint format rewards that approach. Pole and a sprint win are clear signs Márquez still has elite one-lap speed and racercraft. He stressed, however, that the result doesn't mean a sudden return to full fitness. Balaton's left-hand bias helps, and he's still protecting his shoulder with ice and measured sessions. This result doesn't mean I've changed physically in 3 days. I still have a long way to go. Strong short stint performance is encouraging. The bigger test remains sustaining pace over a full race distance without muscular breakdown. Márquez acknowledged the threat of younger rivals like Pedro Acosta and Marco Bezzecchi but deliberately avoided head-to-head duels that would risk tire or energy burn. He singled out Acosta as a dangerous opponent but noted the KTM rider's current machinery limits compared with Ducati. Luckily Acosta isn't riding a Ducati, at least for now. Choosing battles is a hallmark of experienced champions. Picking moments to attack preserves resources for the decisive phases. Beyond the stopwatch, Márquez emphasized enjoyment and a lighter mindset after years of pressure. He framed the weekend as part of a longer comeback, valuing measured progress and the pleasure of racing as much as results. I want to have fun. I've had a lot of pressure for years, and now I also want to enjoy this sport. Mental reset can be as important as physical recovery. Enjoying the process often improves consistency and reduces the risk of overcommitment. The sprint win gives Márquez momentum and a tactical cushion heading into the Grand Prix, but he and Ducati will prioritize sustainable race pace and energy management. For the championship picture, the result is a morale boost but does little to close the large points gap to the leaders. It does, however, remind rivals that Márquez remains a potent threat on the right circuits. Expect Márquez to use Balaton as a measured test, push where the track helps, avoid unnecessary risks, and build race minutes without jeopardizing long-term recovery. Marc Márquez's Balaton sprint was a controlled masterclass, pole, a short race attack, and discipline management afterwards. It confirms his speed and race intelligence while underlining the cautious approach he must keep as he rebuilds muscular endurance. If Ducati and Márquez continue this incremental strategy, picking circuits that suit his current strengths and avoiding overexertion, he can keep influencing races and collecting meaningful results without risking setbacks in his comeback. Marquez explained that the rapid improvement at Balaton Park wasn't a sudden physical miracle but a return of specific bike sensations. He singled out the left side, the feel under left-handed inputs, as having come back to what it was before his injuries, and said that restoration made the difference in his pace. "I've confirmed here that the left side, at least, is back to its old self." Small sensory recoveries can unlock confidence far faster than raw strength gains. For Marquez, left side feel translates directly into braking confidence and corner entry. Marquez stuck to a clear plan in the sprint, an all-out opening stint to build a gap, then measured management to conserve tires and energy. He repeated that approach after qualifying and used it to protect his recovery while still extracting a result. The race consisted of pushing hard at the beginning, giving it my all, and then surviving and managing. This tactical restraint is typical of riders rebuilding endurance, exploit short bursts of peak performance, then preserve resources for the longer test. The rider admitted his mind still reacts at full speed, but his body does not always follow. That disconnect is the main danger. A split-second overcommitment could cause a crash. He emphasized concentration and caution as safeguards. "My mind is still working fast, but my body isn't." Mental sharpness without matching muscular resilience raises the risk profile. Measured aggression and strict self-control are essential during this phase. After pole, Marquez allowed himself to see a podium as possible but refused to promise it. He noted how quickly his outlook changed in 48 hours, from not considering a podium to acknowledging it as within reach. Yet he remained careful not to overstate expectations. "I would like to be on the podium, but I can't rule anything out." Setting modest, achievable targets helps manage recovery and keeps pressure off while still motivating incremental gains. Marquez reflected on the influx of young talent, Acosta, Aldeguer and others, accepting that the grid is evolving and that veterans will be pushed. He framed his return as a rebuilding project rather than an immediate title chase, focused on constructing a sustainable future rather than chasing dramatic short-term comebacks. "There will come a time when they push you aside and start to push you out." A long-term perspective reduces the temptation to rush recovery and increases the chance of a durable return to form. Balaton Park offered a meaningful confidence boost, regained left-side feel, pole pace and a sprint win underlined Marquez's class. Yet the comeback remains incremental. Nerve issues appear resolved, but muscular endurance and right-side strength are the next frontier. Expect Marquez and Ducati to pick circuits that play to his current strengths, continue cautious workload management, and use each weekend as a controlled test rather than a declaration of full return. Bagnaia acknowledged that the weekend delivered a better feeling on the bike compared with earlier rounds, but those improvements didn't translate into tangible results. His summary was blunt: "A step forward in terms of feeling, not results." In Moto GP, confidence in setup is vital, but unless it converts into track position and race pace, it remains an intangible gain. Balaton Park's narrow layout amplified the gap between sensation and scoreboard. Progress was evident in qualifying. Bagnaia reached Q2 and secured 5th on the grid, a step forward after struggling on Friday. But the sprint unraveled almost immediately. At turn 1, Aldeguer's defensive line boxed him out, costing several positions he couldn't recover. Once buried in traffic, Balaton's tight corners and limited overtaking zones left him stuck. "The first corner is extremely difficult. I lost too many positions." On circuits with limited overtaking, the opening lap is often decisive. Even a strong launch can be nullified by congestion or defensive moves, leaving riders powerless to regain ground. Bagnaia reiterated that the GP26 still struggles with rear tire wear and weak initial drive off corners. He praised the electronic start solution introduced at Mugello, which worked again here, but once the bike was back on throttle, rivals pulled away. "When I have to get on the gas, I don't have any." Rear traction is the foundation of race pace. Without it, braking confidence, mid-corner stability and exit acceleration all suffer, leaving Ducati vulnerable in duels and unable to sustain speed over race distance. Bagnaia described himself as paving the way for Ducati, pushing a new baseline setup that teammates will eventually adopt. This leadership role means short-term compromises as the factory rebuilds the bike's balance from scratch, prioritizing long-term gains over immediate podiums. Let's just say I'm paving the way. When a lead rider drives development, results can dip temporarily. The payoff comes when the factory squad converges on a stronger, more stable platform later in the season. Bagnaia's checklist is clear: improve rear grip, refine starts, and recover exit acceleration. He hopes to translate the improved feeling into results by leveraging Marquez's data, which showed significant grip gains from Friday to Saturday. He also noted that Marc's advantage at Balaton was more about riding style and circuit layout than Ducati's inherent superiority. Expect Ducati to continue experimenting with rear traction solutions, electronic mapping, swing arm hybrids, and aero tweaks. The goal is to stabilize the GP26 across race distance and reduce tire degradation. Balaton Park revealed both progress and fragility for Bagnaia and Ducati. Setup gains are visible, but championship success demands consistency over full race distances, not just improved sensations. Until Ducati cures rear grip and exit acceleration issues, promising qualifying efforts will remain vulnerable to first corner chaos and tight layouts. If the factory sustains the development direction Bagnaia is leading, the team should gradually convert these intangible improvements into reliable podiums. But for now, the gap between feeling and results remains the story of Ducati's season. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your Moto GP news update. And see you next time!